Hello and welcome to Marsh Attacks with me, James Marsh. Starting on HBO this weekend is It, Welcome to Derry. This is the prequel show to the film adaptations by Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti of Stephen King's classic horror novel. Now, I should say right from the offset, I am not the world's most well-read Stephen King fan. I've seen most of the films, I've read one or two of the books, but even I have spotted some of the Easter eggs. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the Easter eggs, partly because I probably didn't recognize half of them. There will be plenty of videos out there on the internet that will have dug through all of the little minutiae of the details. But even I noticed that when a prison is mentioned, it's Shawshank Prison. I know what that is. When a character is called Dick Halloran, I recognize that as a character from The Shining. And there are a number of other little elements like that. I'm aware of the fact that Stephen King does this in his books as well. Suffice to say that it is also being serviced in this series. The fact that Andy and Barbara Muschietti, together with Jason Fuchs, are the showrunners, should let you know that this is aligned with the two films. Also, Bill Skarsgård is serving as an executive producer on this, so that should immediately let you know that his iteration of Pennywise the Clown will manifest at some stage. Now, I've got to be very careful here. I've seen 5 episodes out of 8. I think it's only the first episode that will be dropping on HBO this weekend. And HBO have given me a laundry list of spoilers that I am not to talk about. So I've got to tread very carefully and avoid as many specifics as possible. And I would assume that those coming to the show would not want to hear a lot of spoilers anyway. Inevitably, the show does focus on a group of children, not least Blake Cameron James's character Will Hanlon, the son of Leroy and Charlotte, played by Yovan Adepo and Taylor Page, who are kind of the central focus of the series. They're new in town, they're African American, and although this is Maine, they do feel still a little bit of racial tension on the streets, and so that adds a layer to the story. Other notable younger characters are Lily, played by Clara Stack. She is wrestling with some tragedy, some demons. She lost her father at a young age. There is a mental institution, Juniper Hills, up on the hill, and she has a history with that place, and so she is always on edge. There is also Amanda Christine's character Ronnie, whose father runs the local cinema, and at the end of the first episode, something happens that implicates him in a horrible crime. It brings a group of children together, and so they mount their own investigation, while meanwhile at the nearby military base, James Raymar's General Shaw is managing a military investigation of what's going on that will involve Leroy and will involve Dick Halloran, among other characters. What I will say is that the show does a great job of respecting its horror roots. There's a danger now in a kind of post-Stranger Things era, which obviously was hugely influenced by the work of Stephen King, to steer this slightly more towards a younger audience. I will say that Welcome to Derry does not hold back in its horror sequences. It goes all out, and they are delightfully grotesque. It must be noted there is a lot of CGI going on rather than practical effects. That doesn't really matter, in my opinion. I think that the ideas, the concepts, the manifestations that the entity takes are so horrific and grotesque in their own right, that even if they are, and when they are done with CGI, it doesn't really detract from the inherent horror of it. There is general sort of mystery and intrigue going on with these different characters, and there's some great performances as well. Taylor Page is great, as is Clara Stack, and they seem to be sort of two of the primary protagonists. The town also has a long sort of indigenous history. There is a local community there who have been there for hundreds of years, and as we learn, they have been the sort of the guardians, the protectors of the entity, or rather of the town against the entity. And so you have this kind of three-way operation where the military have to negotiate and collaborate with the indigenous community, and then obviously you've got the children who are being preyed upon and are not being believed by the traditional authority figures in their community, the police, the teachers, parents, that kind of thing. And so they take matters into their own hands, as is classic for this formula. So far, after 5 episodes, this is ticking all of the boxes. I really appreciate, the sense of place, the sense of time. The characters are really strong, and as I said, the horror beats really do hit home, and it's actually quite hardcore. I didn't binge the 5 episodes in one go because I couldn't. It's quite full on, and so you know, I drew it out over a number of evenings, and that made for a far more enjoyable experience. If you are looking forward to this show, let me know in the comments. What are you hoping that it will bring? What are you fearful that it might change or destroy? Did you like those new film versions? I did very much. I preferred them to the classic Tim Curry miniseries from the 90s, which I thought had a great first half, and then the second half, when you deal with the adult versions of the characters, really kind of let that down. Even watching it back in the day, the films, on the other hand, I thought remained strong over both films. What was your opinion of those? Are you looking forward to this? Let me know in the comments.